Okay, let's just get into this video, shall we? So, I wasn't actually sure that I was going to make this video today, honestly. I had planned to just do a video on one of my other channels in my vlog today, but the more I thought about it, I thought, no, like, I want to say this, and I think it's actually, it's a bigger picture and some more important thing that I want to talk about with the Tana Mojo Cody Co allegations and some comments that I received in my video yesterday. So, I want to talk about this, okay? I got a lot of comments yesterday on my video of people saying that they were disappointed in me and that I didn't do my research and I didn't watch D'Angelo Wallace's video all the way through and things like that. So before I get into this, I just want to say this. I have no issue with D'Angelo Wallace whatsoever, okay? I've watched many of his videos through the years. I take no issue with him whatsoever. He's a channel on a much larger level than me. I think we know that, right? I think in the situation with Shane Dawson and him doing the Shane Dawson video, I think that was a very important video. I think that video opened the eyes to a lot of people, okay, about Shane Dawson. I think that D'Angelo Wallace has done a lot of really important work through the years. And I'm really, really thankful that he is talking about the Tana Mojo Cody Co allegations, because I think that he's bringing a lot of attention to the story in ways that maybe smaller channels wouldn't get the same story, right? So I got a lot of people that said in my video yesterday that I was, like, they were really disappointed in me about my comments about D'Angelo, because I made some comments and I said, I would have appreciated if D'Angelo, I don't know how I said it, but I said something about D'Angelo Wallace, where were you when we were talking about Colleen Ballinger? Like, that, if you're talking about bigger channels having more pull, his words, not mine, he said that. You know, people said in there that he's not talking about your community, he's talking about Cody Co's commentary community. He is talking about Cody Co's commentary, and I have watched the video several times, and I've actually watched several of D'Angelo's videos at this time, because when people bring things to me, and I'm like, oh, am I wrong in this? Was he filming videos at the time that the Colleen Ballinger allegations were going on? And people are saying he wasn't even filming videos at that time and things like that. Then it's important for me to go in and do my research, because I want to make sure that I'm educated on what I'm saying and get in a video and say, I totally apologize. D'Angelo Wallace wasn't even online at the time that the Colleen Ballinger allegations were going on. So there was no reason for him to film videos at the time, because he wasn't even online. And I also want to say, it's not my place to tell anybody what to film on their channel or what video topics to cover. Just like it's nobody's business to tell me what to cover on my channel. Even though last year when the Colleen Ballinger situation happened, I got flooded with people asking me, okay, to talk about Colleen Ballinger and what an important situation it was, okay, and what an important story it was to cover, to bring attention to that. So when I got in my video yesterday and I said that where was he when the Colleen Ballinger situation was going on, and then somebody commented and said that on a community tab, he said enough people had covered it. So he didn't feel the need to come out and cover it again. And I appreciate that. I understand that, right? I just feel that at the time that the Colleen Ballinger allegations came out, it was a lot of, in his own words, smaller commentary channels that were covering the story. Channels that didn't have a lot of pull, in D'Angelo Wallace's own words, okay? He says that in the video. He says that channels that, you know, have more pull weren't covering the Tana Mojo Cody Co story. So if at the time, during the Colleen Ballinger allegations, if channels that did have a lot of pull, okay, like D'Angelo Wallace, that has, I think we know, a lot more subscribers than I do, all right? If he had covered the story, it might have gained a lot more traction a lot sooner, all right? That was really all I was saying in my video yesterday. Like, now, okay, this is an important conversation for you to talk about. We could have used you during the Colleen Ballinger situation. You know, it's kind of like Tug-of-war a little bit, right? Like, you put your heaviest player, like, on the anchor, right? Well, D'Angelo Wallace, who is getting millions of views a video, compared to Peter Monn, who's getting 5,000 to 15,000 views a video, okay? He obviously carries a lot more weight. He's going to pull the story a lot further, okay, than we are, smaller commentary channels. Of which people said that he wasn't talking about my community in there. He posted videos of people that are directly in my community, like Adam McIntyre. He posted thumbnails of their videos. He was directly talking about us, is what he was talking about in there, right? He was also talking about you, because he said YouTubers and viewers alike. So he was talking about, if you're a viewer out there of YouTube, he's talking about you. He was talking about, I'm a YouTuber. He was talking about me. I'm a viewer of YouTube. He was talking about me. He's talking about all of us and why we're ignoring the story. This is what he was talking about in the video. Those are his words, right? So what I was really saying in my video yesterday, you know, it's like, if any other, and this has been the story for years and years and years, so it's fine, it's whatever, but like, Any other drama commentary channel can throw shade left and right in a video, but if Peter Monn ever does it, oh my God, I'm held to a completely different standard. And that's just the truth. And I've known that for several years, right? But in all honesty, I felt that the way that he kind of displayed the story, that that smaller channels had covered it. But like that really wasn't enough. We needed like bigger commentary channels to cover it, okay? And what he was saying was that Cody Ko's community is bigger commentary channels and they weren't willing to cover it because they're in Cody Ko's community, right? Okay. So that was really what he was saying. Thank you to the smaller channels, but that's not enough because you guys don't have enough pull. That's basically his own words, right? So in those same words, what I was saying was, it would have been nice to have D'Angelo Wallace last year when we were covering the Colleen Ballinger situation. You know, it would have been nice to have him on board with that for whatever his reasons were. Okay, that was really all I was saying. Because obviously as smaller creators, and that's the truth. I mean, it is the truth. You know, with me getting 5 to 15, 20,000 views a video, 20,000 would be good these days, right? That I don't have the kind of pull that he has. I mean, let's just look and see. On this video alone that he did right now, he has 2 million views, okay, in 4 days. So had he covered the Colleen Ballinger story at that time, it would have got picked up a lot quicker. You know, one of my biggest concerns, okay, and D'Angelo Wallace, he expresses the same kind of passion about the story with Tana Mojo that I did about the Colleen Ballinger situation. One of my main concerns, because he's talking about nobody's wanting to cover this, the story's getting pushed down. That's always been my concern with Colleen Ballinger, right? Is that 3 years down the road, she's going to be making jokes of this, and nobody's going to take it seriously because it's been pushed down. Had we had bigger creators at the beginning, okay, at the beginning, when all this stuff was going on, that would have been great. And, you know, I like I said, I guess somebody said that on his community post. D'Angelo Wallace said that he didn't want to cover it because a lot of other channels had already covered it. And that was true. A lot of people were covering the Colleen Ballinger situation. But somebody that had the kind of pull, okay, that D'Angelo Wallace said, in his own words, he said that, right? To cover the story of Colleen Ballinger, could have probably got it a lot farther, a lot quicker, right? That was really all I was saying in my video. I probably said it in a little bit of a shady way, and so people were really disappointed in me. In fact, I got just rampant comments from people saying things about that I shouldn't have said that D'Angelo Wallace had been on a mental health break. I knew that. I watched D'Angelo Wallace's video from 2 years ago when he talked about taking a mental health break. I said in my video yesterday, I'm completely supportive of people taking mental health breaks, right? People even used that in comments against me yesterday and said, well, you just said it's about Trixie Mattel. D'Angelo Wallace had taken a mental health break. I'm completely supportive of people taking mental health breaks. 100%. I think that it's needed, especially in this industry where we're talking about very, very serious topics. And I don't think that people really understand the back end of things, you know? I've talked a little bit about the harassment and the stalking that I've received directly as a result of talking about Colleen Ballinger, right? Had bigger commentary channels been talking about this at the time, and I'm not the only one that's gotten that kind of harassment, you know? Had bigger commentary channels been picking up the story quicker than us, or around the same time, like D'Angelo Wallace, I don't know. Some of us maybe wouldn't have gotten the harassment that we got because it would have looked like a unified front. That's really all I was saying. His voice could have been heard, right? But I got several comments, and people said things to me like, D'Angelo took a really long break. I think he wasn't online during the Colleen Ballinger exposure. That's probably why. Somebody said D'Angelo was not even on the internet and doing videos during the Colleen Ballinger situation. This comment has several likes on it, right? He was gone for over a year. When you looked at his content and saw that he didn't cover Colleen's story, didn't you notice that he hadn't uploaded anything in over a year? So I read this comment and I thought, okay, well, I need to get on a video and I need to apologize to D'Angelo Wallace. Because if D'Angelo Wallace, I knew he had taken a mental health break, but I was almost pretty sure that he was back and had been back for a while before the Colleen Ballinger situation happened. And so I thought to myself, well, I'm going to get in a video and I need to apologize to D'Angelo publicly. That's what I do, okay? Because I think that that's the right thing to do. So I went over to his channel. He had been uploading months before the Colleen Ballinger situation happened. I think he started back uploading again in like April of 2023. In fact, when you go to his videos, because people said, didn't you look? I hadn't, in all honesty, right? But now that I have looked, I guess to the person asking me the comment, did you look? Because I did look. And so around the Colleen Ballinger allegations, which came out on the 9th of June, I believe, last year, on the 12th of June, he posted a video about the idol. the TV show The Idol with The Weeknd. That video of his has 1 million views, okay? He then on the 6/27, which was 2 days before Colleen Ballinger's ukulele video, he did a follow-up video about The Idol. And then on 7/19, he did a third video about The Idol. All those videos are sitting at over 1 million views. So to think that a video about The Idol got 1 million views, I was doing videos about Colleen Ballinger that were getting like 30 to 60,000 views, which is great for my channel. Can you imagine what kind of exposure D'Angelo Wallace could have brought to that story in the same way that he feels that it's important to bring to the story of Tana Mojo? Okay, so that was really all I was saying in my video yesterday. If it came across as shady, I fully apologize to D'Angelo Wallace, all right? That was not how I meant it to be. But what I do feel that is that at times, like it's been brought to me, when people say to me, Peter, your voice is important, it needs to be heard on certain topics, right? Like that's something that's really been, you know, somebody said in one of the comments, like, you didn't want to talk about James Charles. You're absolutely right. I didn't want to talk about James Charles. For a very long time, I wanted to keep it lighthearted over here. I wanted to keep it fun. It's something that I have been very transparent about for a very, very long time. But when people started messaging me last year about Colleen Ballinger and then messaging me about James Charles, I thought, you know what? They're saying to me, I have an important voice in this. D'Angelo Wallace is somebody that is very smart. He is a critical thinker. He could have brought a point of view to the Colleen Ballinger story, and I'm not saying that he has to or that he should have. I'm just saying it would have been nice, right? He could have brought a critical point of view, a research point of view that nobody else was bringing. I was bringing opinions based on what I had seen out there, right? Not to mention that D'Angelo Wallace, in his video about Tana Mojo and Cody Ko, he references his age. He says, I'm 25. I'm the same age that Cody Ko was when this situation happened. Had D'Angelo Wallace spoken about Colleen Ballinger at the time, right? And I think that this story is equally as important. I just want to make that very, very clear. The story about Cody Ko and Tana Mojo and the allegations, I think, is just equally as important, okay? But at that time, D'Angelo Wallace would have been 24 years old, okay? He was closer to the ages of the victims. One of the things I have been highly criticized about in talking about Colleen Ballinger and James Charles is my age, okay? People will say, oh, you're a 60-year-old man. I'm 52. I just turned 52. But people will say that about my age. They'll say, well, you're so much older. You don't get it. You don't get this. You don't get fandoms. You don't get the younger age group, right? But to have had somebody that is a critical thinker, that does his research, okay, that is very smart. I say D'Angelo Wallace, I would describe him as brilliant. I think he's brilliant. I went back and watched some of his older videos last night. He's been brilliant, okay? In the way that he looks at things and the way that he approaches things. He's humorous. He could have brought a different point of view, also being closer to the age of the victims. None of the people that were covering it, other than Adam McIntyre, who was a victim at the time, okay? None of the people that were covering it at that time were anywhere remotely close to the age of the victims. D'Angelo Wallace was. He was 24. He was 4 years older, 3 to 4 years older than the majority of the victims at the time that these allegations came out against Colleen Ballinger. It would have given a different point of view. And that was really all I was saying in my video yesterday. I take no issue with D'Angelo Wallace, okay? And his not covering Colleen Ballinger or whoever he wants to cover, okay? And I am 100% supportive of people taking mental health breaks. So I don't know why that came across in such a way that people were so, I mean, I'm so disappointed in you, Peter, about your comment about D'Angelo Wallace. Okay, so I take no issue with him on what he covers. What I will take an issue with, okay, is, and like I said, I'm thankful that he's covering the story and he's getting it more attention because, yes, he does have more pull than me. Okay, that's just a fact. That's reality, okay? I also think that there's, and I know when I say this, people will be like, there's a certain amount of responsibility that goes with something like that, right? Because if you're getting 1 million views, and Peter's talking about it, I think my video from yesterday is sitting at 9,000 views. Okay, so he's got 2.2 million views on his Cody Ko Tana Mojo video. Okay, my video has, I think, 9,000 views. So he has 2,990,000 more views, or 2 million, and I don't know, something. I got my glasses on, I can't do math. He's got that many more views on his video, okay? And the statement that he makes at the beginning of the video, and people said I didn't know what I was talking about, I heard it in the clip. I saw it yesterday. I watched it 3 times. The quote hasn't changed. And the quote that he makes, even though really the video is about that bigger commentary channels are protecting Cody Ko, and they're doing a really good job of like deleting comments and forcing the story out and things like that, and they're not covering it because they're colleagues of Cody Ko and things like that. That's really the sentiment to the video. But at the beginning of the video, within the first 2 minutes, and you have to remember, a lot of people, if you look at your watch time, any YouTuber will tell you this, okay? No watch time on a video is 100% of your video, which means that what you say at the beginning of your video is pretty important. because people aren't going to stay till the very end of the video. They just aren't. I wish they would, because sometimes the most important things I say in videos are at the very, very end, okay? But they don't, okay? They usually, watch time, my watch times are good, okay? I mean, I'm like at, I don't know, like 60 to 70% of my video is my watch time. But I talk to a lot of YouTubers, and that's just not the case. So in a 14-minute video, you'd be lucky if your watch time, you'd be lucky if your watch time was 10 minutes, right? So what you say in the first 2 to 3 minutes is very, very important, which is where the clip came from that I watched yesterday. And he says in here, the quote that he says is, this is exactly what he says. I wrote it down word for word. YouTubers and viewers alike are YouTubers, I'm a YouTuber, and viewers, people watching videos, alike are ignoring and discrediting these allegations solely. This is the only reason why people are discrediting these allegations, okay? Solely because the person making them happens to be an unlikable woman online, Tana Mongeau. Well, I 100% disagree with that statement. I just do not agree with that statement, and that's what I said yesterday, okay? I said that yesterday in my video. I said, I don't agree with that statement, all right? I don't agree that Tana Mongeau is an unlikable person. Her podcast is doing incredibly well. She has tons of people that like her, okay? Go read her Instagram post. I mean, she gets tons of really positive comments over there, okay? Tana Mongeau is thriving right now. She really is. And it's interesting to me that that's the perception that Tana, I mean, there's a lot of things, okay, that I would think are the perception of Tana Mongeau, okay, that Tana Mongeau in the past has partied a lot, that she's been irresponsible, that she's not very serious about things, that she supports the wrong people. I've talked about all those things in my videos, okay, but I wouldn't say, I've even gone as far as to say that I don't think she has a lot of talent, okay? But she obviously has something because people are watching her online, and I've even acknowledged that, okay? You don't get to where Tana Mongeau got to. I mean, I have read so many followings and used them, okay, in talking about Tana Mongeau as not being a great role model, where people will be like, I just want to be just like Tana Mongeau. My friends and I are just like Tana Mongeau and her friends, okay? Oh my God, Tana's video, Tana's post, I'm just like Tana. I love Tana. I'm just like Tana. That's not an unlikable person. That is not an unlikable person. And that rhetoric of saying that the believability is based on somebody's likability, I think furthers the stigma of what's really going on here, which is what I said in my video when I shared the story about my mother, right? And I went on and on and on. And so, and I talked about, you know, the stigma of who Tana Mongeau is. And I think that it goes even further than what I said in my video yesterday. I think that the reason why people aren't necessarily believing, okay, Tana Mongeau, or they're just, I mean, she said it here and she said it there, blah, 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 through the years, right? And a lot of people comment that on my video. Like, Tana Mongeau, this is not the first time she's talked about it. Well, this is the first time that it's picking up traction. It's probably picking up traction because of Brooke Schofield and the story like that. I mean, this is, when you go back and you look at stories like this that happened, right? Back in the day. When Jeffree Star, like, for example, okay, when Jeffree Star, the situation with Manny MUA, Laura Lee, Nikita Dragon, and Gabriel Zamora flipped him off in a picture and then posted it and said, bitch is better without us, right? And then it turned around and Jeffree Star came for all four of them and was like, they're trash, I don't want anything to do with them anymore, blah, blah, blah. And that was the unfriending, right? Then what happened was that a lot of people started looking into Manny and Laura's past, okay? And they found all the tweets, and then Manny and Laura were canceled and whatever. That was a direct result of that picture being posted, okay? Had that picture never been posted, that probably would never have happened to Laura Lee and Manny MUA, and they can thank Gabriel Zamora for that, right? Like, that's just fact. When you look back at how these stories unfold, that's just fact, okay? And I don't know much about this whole Brooke Schofield situation with all that kind of stuff, but people have been asking me to cover it. But they're so closely aligned, right? And with Tana, and, you know, she's speaking about Tana and the Alyssa Violet situation, all that kind of stuff. Had all that stuff going on, I don't know that people would be looking for these clips of what Tana's saying on certain podcasts, and then it would be getting attention. It's getting attention because of that. That's a reality, right? So now people are looking at Tana and they're going, oh, well, she's been saying this for years, right? But nobody's really been paying attention to her. And so the reason why is because she just kind of throws it out in the middle of a thing. This is why when I talk about when people, it's just kind of an analogy, okay? When people bring out, like, people's made apologies, and they'll say, well, they have made apologies, but you have to look for them, okay? They threw it out in a video that they did at the 3-minute mark, and they just kind of said, well, I'm sorry for this that I did. Well, that's not an apology video, okay? You know, and so I think that's part of the reason why this story hasn't been taken as seriously as well, too, right? Is that Tana Mongeau hasn't gotten a video. If Tana Mongeau tomorrow sat down in a video and said, let me address these allegations, let me tell you about what happened with Cody Ko, let me also tell you about what happened with Jason Nash, because she's now came out and made allegations about Jason Nash, okay? And if she came out and she said that in a video, that video would have 10 million views and people would be really paying attention to it, right? That's not her responsibility, and she doesn't have to do that. Tana Mongeau, she can do whatever she wants to do with it. This is her life. You know, you can't take away somebody else's story from them. And this is her story to tell. It's nobody else's story, right? But when I was talking in my video yesterday about the fact, and it was interesting because I actually got a few comments where people were like, him saying that she is, like, people are discrediting the story is because she's unlikable, really takes away the power of the story of why women struggle with this. And that's the reality, right? Like, when you do research on this, and I actually just pulled it up online because I just wanted to see the research studies that have been done. And so I Google search, and I talked about Google yesterday in my video, why female victims aren't taken seriously. And when you look on here, okay, there's like, I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of research studies talking about victim blaming, okay? And why women aren't taken seriously. Why men aren't taken, this goes right back directly to Adam McIntyre with the Colleen Ballinger situation last year. Why men are not taken seriously, okay, with female perpetrators. It's the same studies are being done about that are being done about, you know, the victim blaming mentality of women in our society and why women aren't taken seriously for their stories or what things are they doing. And when you look at them, it was interesting because I got a comment on my video by somebody that said something about it isn't just the wild party girls that aren't believed, it's all women. And so when you look in here, there's numerous factors, okay? Do I think that Tana Mongeau's personality online is often defined as being partying, being irresponsible, not taking things seriously, that she's thrown out a lot of stories through the years and whatever, that people are like, well, we don't even know if her stalking stories are real, whatever, so is she the boy who cried the wolf? I think it's all of that, right? I think it plays into what I was talking about yesterday, that she's not the perfect victim, right? Like, we want somebody to look like, it's what, this is, okay, when I was talking about the perfect victim yesterday, you know, I worked with the court systems and Department of Correction for years and years and years. It's why attorneys tell people when they show up to court how to dress and how to look a certain way, okay? I can tell you right now that if a woman had an assault case, okay, and she was going to court, an attorney would tell her to dress very demure, okay? To wear her hair back, to, you know, wear something that was very simple, to look very demure, right? And to kind of tone it down a little bit. Attorneys would tell a woman that. That's a sad sentiment in our society, right? That a way that a woman would show up to court would have any play into the fact of the believability of her story against evidence of an assault, okay? I mean, that's so sad in our society, and that's a reality. I sat and heard attorneys, okay, in my youth tell people that, tell victims, not even just women, but men that, okay? When you go to court, if you're a man, you know, wear a suit, wear a tie, be respectful, say yes, sir, say no, sir, you know, look people in the eye when you're doing that, right? So what we're really talking about, whether we're talking about Tana Mongeau, whether we're talking about Adam McIntyre and Becky, or whether we're talking about the two victims with James Charles or whatever, right? Like, so many people have said, oh, well, they lied to James Charles, you know? That all these victims lied to James Charles. So that gives James Charles a defense, right? None of these people are perfect victims. You know, and when you look online about that, I mean, that's not something that my mother just pulled out of thin air when I said that in my video yesterday. It's been something that's been studied for years and years and years. The idea of what we need in society is a perfect victim that we can feel sorry for. People don't want to feel sorry for Tana Mongeau. One of the things that works against her is not only, okay, that she is, you know, the way that she has dressed in the past, or the way that she's partied, or the way that she's presented herself, none of which is deserving of any of the things that she's alleging, okay? None of that. Or that she lied about her age, none of that, okay? None of that matters, all right? You know, what matters is her story, and her telling her story, right? And sharing her story with other people that will say, oh my God, for once I feel seen, right? And for once I feel heard. You know, when you look at these stories of what it looks like, and I mean, I'm just looking here on articles, right? When you look at these articles, these are, I mean, huge research studies that have been done. Southern Connecticut State University, a research done on rape culture, victim blaming, and the facts. Unfounded sexual assault, women's experiences of not being believed. This is a research study done by the National Institute of Health. Why women are still taken less seriously than men. This is by Forbes magazine. CBC, sex abuse by women taken less seriously due to stereotypes. This is what I was talking about in my video yesterday, right? So, to me, and I do think that, you know, people like D'Angelo Wallace have a very important voice, but when you're saying something to 2 million people, that the reason why nobody's believing this story is because Tana Mongeau is unlikable, I think that furthers the stereotypes if you want to know the truth, okay? And I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for saying that, and I really don't care because I take this stuff that seriously, okay? I really don't care. If somebody thinks they're disappointed in me because I said that I think it furthers the stereotypes, I do. I do think that, right? I think it says that the reason why people, I think this, you know, D'Angelo Wallace titled his video An Uncomfortable Conversation, or said this is an uncomfortable conversation or something. This is an uncomfortable conversation. These are not comfortable topics to talk about. Nobody really wants to talk about this. And the reality is that we live in the world where influencers are talking about this stuff all the time. These things are coming out, right? And so we don't really want to talk about it. But if we're going to talk about it, let's get to the meat and the potatoes of it, okay? Let's talk about the believability of women and men in our society with assault situations, right? And why they aren't believed. Let's talk about the systems that go into place for why people don't believe that. Let's just not knock it off to she's an unlikable woman online, all right? Because I think diminishes and minimizes who Tana Mongeau is as a person in all reality, right? I have no problem getting on video and saying that I have called out Tana for years, okay, for I don't think she's been a good role model, and I think she's lied in the past, and she's made up things, and I think she supports problematic people. I believe all those things about Tana Mongeau, okay? I don't think any of those things merit anything that she has gone through in the past. I don't think she deserves anything that she's gone through. I don't think any of those things that I just mentioned that I've covered in my videos play into who Tana Mongeau is of deserving of this or being a participant in this or whatever. When people are like, well, I believe Tana Mongeau, I'm like, that it's baffling to me, right? None of that, and I just talked about that I've covered with Tana Mongeau. And when we talk about her being an unlikable person online, right, and then what that says is that anybody that's covered Tana Mongeau in the past, okay, and talked about, like myself, her not being a good role model, that plays into Tana Mongeau not being believable because of that. And I just don't think that that's the case. I really don't. I think there's a lot of people out there that believe Tana Mongeau. I think there's a lot of people out there that like Tana Mongeau. I think there's a lot of people that don't believe this out there. I think that the reality is that we want what looks like a perfect victim. I watch a lot of true crime. I follow a lot of true crime cases. It's not just with Tana Mongeau in this situation. And in fact, it's not just with women in assault cases, okay? It's with men. It's with mothers. It's with grandfathers. It's with the elderly, okay? It's with kids. It's with neighbors, you know? It's with spouses. It's everywhere, you know, that this happens. You know, that people say all this kind of stuff, and it's like they're not the perfect victim. They don't look a certain way. They don't speak a certain way. They don't sound a certain way. So they're unbelievable because of that, right? And that's the danger of these stereotypes in our society today. So yes, I am very, very thankful that bigger channels are picking up this story and they're talking about it. Because in all honesty, I'm tired of having to like do videos every other day, and I'm sure that my audience is tired of doing videos every other day that are so dark. When somebody like D'Angelo Wallace or bigger commentary channels can do one video and get the story out there, right? It's one of the reasons why I continue to talk about these stories that I think are so important, like Colleen Ballinger, you know? And my concern, and I've said this from the beginning, is when you talk about the reason why nobody is believing this story is because of the likability of Tana Mongeau, or whether or not that's why they don't believe it. My concern more is, could this happen again in the future, okay? Like, you know, and I'm all that, right? Like, when I talked about Colleen Ballinger, when I talked about James Charles, these are people that abused their power. We're talking about power differential. You're talking about Cody Ko being a 25-year-old man that had an established career at the time that he met Tana Mongeau. You're talking about a power differential, okay? You're talking about the believability based on a power differential. You're talking about the trust and all of that based on a power differential at that time, all right? It's one of the reasons why I've continued to talk about Colleen Ballinger through the years, is because I think, or through the last year, because I think it's so important. Because if Colleen Ballinger gets up to the size that she was at before, and people are like, oh, well, that was a story. I mean, Laura Lee, and it said in her podcast with Manny MUA that they took down. Didn't that happen 4 years ago? So I guess there's a time limit on people being able to tell their stories and how it affected them with abuse. Laura Lee said it in her podcast. Laura Lee put a time limit on Adam McIntyre's feelings and beliefs of his abuse, okay? That happened. Wasn't that 4 years ago that Laura Lee said? So Laura Lee was the one that got to dictate how long Adam McIntyre is able to feel over his own situation. Laura Lee decided that, right? So we put time limits on people. My concern has always been that 3 or 4 years down the road, like James Charles, Colleen Ballinger is going to have a career again. And she's going to have group chats because she's going to have a lot of fans again. And other people could get hurt. I think this is the importance of getting these stories out and talking about these stories and bringing awareness. You know, the awareness is key. And then if people want to continue to follow them and watch them after that, that's up to them. You know, and if I came across as shady in my video to D'Angelo Wallace, D'Angelo, personally, I apologize to you. I think you're brilliant. I think you're smart. I think you have an interesting perspective. I think you have an important perspective that I don't share and other people don't share. So if my comments came across as shady, and they probably were, I greatly apologize. And I'm thankful that he did this video and he's getting the camera stopped. And I'm grateful that he did the video and the story is getting out more. I think that one of the things that I've struggled with the most in the last year, and speaking about my mental health, okay, and talking about people coming for me constantly behind the scenes, and, you know, I have on one side people like saying, you need to talk about this, your voice is important, this story is important, we've got to get the word out, you got to keep on talking about this, right? And on the other side, I have people that are sending me the nastiest DMs and emails, threatening me, making my life miserable. Hell, just off that Robbie Christie, I made 2 videos off of her. You guys have no idea the amount of vitriol that I have received behind the scenes off of 2 videos that I did covering my experience of being a gay man in the United States and having come out since 1990, based on talking about Robbie Christie's, what she did online, okay? What she did online. And I received hate because of Robbie Christie's actions. And somebody wants to make that make sense to me. You know, I don't know. Like, what do we do in a situation like this? I think it's a conversation where we all need to have a conversation. You know, smaller commentary channels, bigger commentary channels, we all do. You know, what is our responsibility to talking about the story? What is it? You know, I mean, D'Angelo Wallace makes a very important statement in his video. He says in there something to the effect of that, this is not mine. I can't call it a crime because it's not mine to report, right? Like referring to this is Tana Moja's story. And that's very true, right? Like, what is our responsibility? I can tell you right now, it's much easier for me to flip a fan, make some jokes, and talk about a palette release, okay? I would love to do that 7 days of the week. But people think that it's more important for me to talk about deeper issues. It's how the community has changed through the years. You know, it really is. And bigger commentary channels are a huge part of that because they're the ones that started doing those videos, the deep dive videos, you know, the videos about the darker stories and things like that, right? So I think that's the bigger conversation that we need to be having. What is our responsibility in talking about these things? Should we be talking about these things? You know? Now, I know personally, I've suffered a lot greatly for talking about specifically Colleen Ballinger and James Charles and Robbie Christie. So if tomorrow I just wanted to stop making those videos and talk about it at all, I know that I would get messages from people and they would say, you need to talk about this, you know? For example, when I did the Q&A on Instagram and I said, what do you guys want me to talk about? It was just flooded with people asking me to talk about Tana Mojo and Cody Co, right? So is it important for me to talk about it? Is it not important for me to talk about it? Is it important for smaller, bigger commentary channels to talk about it? I don't know. I think it's a conversation that we all need to be having, you know, in this space. And, you know, what story should we be talking about? And if somebody covers it, is it important that we all cover it? Or do we all have an important voice and we all should be covering this, even if there's already been 15 videos made about something? Should we also be sharing our point of view? Because I don't know about you. You know, like, when I guess he came out and said there's been enough videos made, I don't need to make it about it. I'd watch, like, so many videos on Colleen Ballinger. I still watch things and people will say something, I'll be like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. Oh wow, that's a different point of view. I'm constantly surprised by what people bring to my attention, you know? On all situations, not just Colleen Ballinger, but all situations, you know? And so I think the discussion is that the topic is we need to be having this discussion about maybe what things do we need to cover over here, you know? I mean, it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. Where do I want to go, you know, with this channel? You know, and then the thing is that whenever I talk about this, that it's like I have a personal vendetta against these people. In all honesty, the bigger commentary channels, like if they cover it, I mean, nobody's coming to Swoop and telling Swoop that she has a vendetta against Colleen Ballinger. That's just a reality. There might be 10 or 20 people that are so ate up with Colleen Ballinger that they say that. But I think people know that Swoop is a huge, you know, she's doing commentary and investigation and things like that. So people are, the tripod fell. I mean, nobody's coming to Swoop, I would assume, and being like, oh, she has a personal vendetta, you know? But the smaller channels that are trying to get these stories out initially, we are accused of that. And I think that we're easier to come after, right? Like, because we don't have a huge following and we're not like this, you know, huge amount of people. And so, you know, it's easier to come for us. I've suffered greatly by talking about these people. I can tell you right now, it would be really easy for me tomorrow to stop talking about Colleen Ballinger, James Charles, Tana Mojo in this situation, Trisha Paytas. I mean, it would be really, really easy. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I don't make videos as often about Trisha Paytas anymore, because every time I do, I just get flooded with hate, right? So it would be so easy for me to not get on video and talk about this for my mental health. So I think the conversation then is, what is our responsibility as commentary channels, whether you have 1,000 subscribers or whether you have 10 million subscribers? What is our responsibility, and do we have any, you know? Because I know when anything happens, I get flooded with DMs and emails of people saying, you really need to talk about this. This story is important. You have an interesting perspective on this. So I think that that's the greater conversation that we need to be had, you know? And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where we go with this, right? Like, what do we do with this situation? Not the Tana Mojo, you know, Cody Ko situation, but in talking about more serious topics on here. You know, I think that when we talk about these things, we have to talk about them with a critical eye. And I think that we do need to do some research to, you know, what studies have been done out there and what is being talked about and things like that. I think that one of the factors that heavily played in to the Colleen Ballinger situation and Adam McIntyre was the idea of the perfect victim, right? And we're talking again about men being victims in our society, right? I mean, my videos last year were flooded with comments of people saying, if this was a man, the same situation wouldn't be happening. Colleen Ballinger is getting away with this because she's a woman. Well, here we are, okay, a year later, and the tables are turned. And I don't think that people are playing into this. And I just do not believe in my heart of hearts it's because Tana Mojo is unlikable. I think Tana Mojo is likable by a lot of people, by millions of people. I think that they like Tana Mojo. I just don't think that that's it. And I think that, you know, it's important that we carry a story that is true to what's going on in our world with stereotypes and victim blaming and how people are perceived and how that plays all into it, right? And the believability of a victim. And that there really truly is no perfect victim out there. There never will be, there never has been, right? Each victim out there is unique. Each victim out there has their own story. Each victim out there has something to say that nobody else has said before. And their lived experience is unique and different to themselves. There's no time limit on it. You know, there's no perfect place to tell it. There's no perfect time to tell it. There's no perfection to going through something like that. It's their experience. It's their lived experience that they will live with for the rest of their lives, you know? Anyway, I just want to get on video and share that with you guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.